Hi, I'm Rochelle Hanna. I've been working with Adobe ColdFusion for the past 5 years now. The features that I've worked on are AWS S3 GCP storage, and I'm the accessibility and the security champion for the team. So today's session is going to be on exploring cloud services with ColdFusion. So the agenda for this session is going to be overview on cloud services, followed by the ColdFusion supported cloud services and its functionalities. I'll also be talking on the prerequisites and how to get started with the cloud services in ColdFusion, and I'll also be demonstrating an app using few of the cloud services. And lastly, I'll show cloud service monitoring using PMT. So before getting into the overview of cloud service, let's see a scenario here. Here we have Harry who works as a HR in a company. So let's see his work items and the challenges that he's currently facing. So his first work item would be storing resumes of candidates. So for that, he might be storing them currently in his file system. And the challenges with that would be he'll need a lot of storage and he cannot access those files remotely. He'll need his laptop to access those files. The second work item that he would have is saving employee details. So for that, he's currently using an on-prem relational database, and again, the challenge with that would be accessing it remotely. And uh, another challenge would be if he has to add some employee details, extra details which is not already present in the table, then he'll have to change this table schema for that. And the third work item that he would have is sending updates to employees. So for that, he'll be using email and say in case he has to send email to all the managers in the company. So for that, he'll have to first get the list of all managers working in the company and then send an email to them. So let's see in this session how we can help Harry solve all his challenges. So coming to the overview of cloud service, cloud service is basically a wide range of on-demand resources and applications that are delivered over the internet. So these cloud services can be classified or categorized based on its functionalities. So let's see the functionalities. We have computing service, so that would be virtual machines or containers. Then we have storage services, that is object storage and file storage. Then we have networking, that is VPN and load balancing. Sorry. Then there is database. There are NoSQL databases and relational databases available on cloud. Then we have messaging services. That would be uh, well, if you want to communicate between two applications via the internet, that is messaging service for you. Then there is security, that would be identity management or encryption. So these are cloud services categorized based on functionalities. And the key benefits of using cloud services would be scalability. So scalability is you can increase or decrease the resources based on your need. So cloud services are scalable. Then there is accessibility. You can access these cloud services from anywhere over the internet. Then there is cost efficiency. You just have to pay for the resources that you're using rather than the entire product. Then there is backup and restore data. So every cloud vendor has different backup techniques, backup mechanism, and even to restore data. Then there is unlimited storage capacity for cloud services. So now that we know what cloud service is and the benefits of using cloud service, let's see uh, how we can use cloud service with ColdFusion, and let's see the cloud services that ColdFusion currently supports. So currently, ColdFusion supports three cloud vendors, that is AWS, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud Platform. So in ColdFusion 2021, we already supported AWS and Microsoft Azure. GCP was added in ColdFusion 2023, and the cloud services that are supported for AWS is AWS S3, DynamoDB, SNS, and SQS. And Microsoft Azure, it is Azure Blob and Azure Service Bus. And in GCP, there is a GCP storage, Firestore, and PubSub. So let's go through each of these cloud service based on the functionality itself. So first functionality would be cloud storage. So before knowing what cloud storage is, we should know what an object is. So what is an object? Object is a piece of data. So where do we store objects? So objects can be stored either in your file system or in a physical location, or it can also be stored in cloud. So cloud storage is nothing but storing these objects or files in cloud. So the supported cloud services with ColdFusion are AWS S3, Azure Blob Storage, and GCP Cloud Storage. So now when we store a file in our file system, how do we store it? We store it in a folder, right? So similarly, these cloud storages, they store it in bucket or a container. The terminology might change from vendor to vendor. Like Azure Blob Storage calls it as a container, whereas AWS S3 and GCP Storage calls it as a bucket. So there's a bucket, and within that bucket, you can store your objects or files. So now let's see a few of the functionalities that through ColdFusion you can use. So first there is CRUD operations on bucket. That would be creating a bucket, deleting a bucket, listing all the buckets in the account. Then there is CRUD operations on objects. That would be uploading an object, downloading an object, deleting an object, copying objects from one bucket to another. Then there is access controls on buckets and objects. So that would be we can set permissions on who can access these buckets or objects. Then there is life cycle rules. So we can set rules to these buckets. For example, if you want to delete a bucket after 7 days, so you can set that rule that you want that you can delete the bucket in 7 days, and life cycle rules will help you with it. Then there is object locking. You can lock the objects so that no one in the system can come and delete them. Then there is versioning. So versioning is basically keeping different copies of the same object. So these are just few of the functionalities that I've listed here, but we do support many other functionalities that the cloud storage supports. So this was cloud storage. Next up is cloud database with ColdFusion. So in cloud database, we support two cloud databases that are Amazon DynamoDB and GCP Firestore. Both of them are NoSQL database, which are built for automatic scaling and ease of application development. And the data here is stored in key value pairs. So this is the data model. So we have a collection which is similar to a table within which we store documents. And in documents, we store data in a key value pair. And each document can again contain a collection within it. The functionalities for cloud database would be creating collections, so tables, then CRUD operations like updating the document, adding the document, deleting the document or the item. Then there is querying and filtering. Querying is fetching the data based on some condition. Then there is ordering and limiting. So we can set an order in which we want to fetch the data. Then there is limiting. We can limit to first n number of documents to fetch. Then there is real-time listeners. That is, we can actively monitor the collections or documents present, and if there are some changes done to the collection or document, based on that, we perform some operation. Then there is transactions and batch writes. That is a set of read and write uh, operations executed together. So these are few functionalities that I've listed down for cloud database. Next up, we have cloud messaging service with ColdFusion. So that is basically communication between or exchanging data between two applications or services through the cloud. So for that, we are supporting these four cloud services, that is AWS SQS, AWS SNS, Azure Service Bus, and GCP PubSub. So how it works here is there'll be a publisher who publishes the message to a topic. He creates a topic, publishes a message to the topic, and the subscriber can subscribe to that topic and pull the messages from there. And few of the functionalities to list down, there is CRUD operations on topics and queues. That would be creating, deleting, listing. Then there is subscribing to a topic, unsubscribing to the topic. Then there is publishing the messages or pushing the messages to the topic. Then we can receive the messages, pull the messages from the topics. Then we can set permissions on who can subscribe to these topics. So these are few functionalities. Again, all these functionalities that I'm listing will differ from cloud vendor to vendor and based on the cloud service as well. But these are few common ones that I've listed down here. So now that we have seen which are the cloud services that ColdFusion supports, let's see how to get started with it. So, the prerequisite to use this cloud service with ColdFusion, first one would be have an account with any of these cloud vendors. So once we have the account with this cloud vendors, you will need this set of data. So if you're using AWS, then you would need AWS access key and secret key. If you're using Azure, then you would need the connection string. And if you're using GCP, you would need the credential JSON file. So this JSON file basically contains all the credential details in it. So these are the requirements from the cloud service side. From the ColdFusion side, all you have to do is install the package that you want to use. So package would be the cloud service that you want to use. So since you all might know that ColdFusion 21 and 23 both have been modularized, and you'll have to install the package that you want to use. With the full installer, these packages are installed by default. But if you're using a zip installer, you would have to go to either administrator and install these packages, or you can install the package using the CFPM tool that we provide. So once we have all these prerequisites, we have to connect ColdFusion with the cloud service, right? So for that, we have this get cloud service method. So this get cloud service method takes two parameters. One is the credentials and one is configuration. So credential is basically this set of data over here. It has credential alias, that is the name that you give to the this set of data. Then there is cloud vendor, whichever vendor you're using. Then there is credential string. This, as I showed in the previous slide, it depends on the vendor. If you're using AWS, then you'll have to provide the AWS secret key and the access key. So the next set of data is the configuration. So it will have a configuration alias, the name that you give for this set, then cloud vendor, again, the vendor name, then the service name. So here the service name would depend on which service you're using. So for example, you're using GCP Firestore, then the cloud vendor would be GCP and service name would be Firestore. And then we have config settings that we can pass. This is basically a few extra settings that you can set to establish the connections. So now, when we have this data, where can we store these data? So these data can be stored in three different places. So first would be ColdFusion Administrator. In Administrator, we have pages for cloud credentials as well as cloud configuration. You can add your details here and then use this credential alias and the config alias, and you can pass this alias to the get cloud service method, and that's how you can establish the connection. The second place where you can store these data is in your application.cfc or application.cfm. You can create an application variable, and in the struct format, you can store these data, and you can again pass the struct to the get cloud service method. And the third place where you can store these data is directly on a CFM file. And on the CFM file, you can just add it in the form of struct and pass the struct directly to the get cloud service method. So, yeah, this was like we have seen how to get started with ColdFusion and cloud services. So I'll be showing a demo using GCP cloud services. So before that, if you all have any questions till now, I can answer those before moving on to the demo. I believe there's no questions. So can I move on then? I'll be going through the demo right now. Okay, so CF is not installed on cloud. So we have a, ColdFusion standalone installation, right? Standalone or gateway, whichever installation you have. Using ColdFusion, you can connect to the existing the cloud vendor, whichever AWS or Azure, whichever you're using. You can connect your ColdFusion to that, and you can use the functions. I'll be showing it in the demo how you can use them. Okay, then I think I'll move on to the demo. Okay. So in this demo, I'll be showing the same scenario. The Harry, the HR who had three work items and the challenges that he faced. So I'll be showing that here. So this is a small app that I've made for all the work items that Harry had. So first work item that he had was uploading resumes or storing the resumes, right? So for that, I've used GCP storage. So here I have this upload resume page where he can just add the candidate name and choose the file that he wants to upload in the GCP storage. So here I'm uploading the file. So here I'll be uploading based on the month. Like each month, I'll be uploading the set of files. So if I check the resume list over here based on months, I can see them, and I can click on the month and I'll get the list of all resume that are already uploaded for that month. So over here I just uploaded VinaPy. You can see it here, and I can download it. So I've given the location where I want to download, so it gets downloaded there. So as you can see, okay, it just got downloaded here. And if you want to see the cloud side, how it's getting uploaded. So this is the GCP uh, the platform that I have. I'll be uploading I'll show where the file got uploaded. So I've created buckets for each month, and within that bucket, I've uploaded the file. So this is the file that just got uploaded through ColdFusion. So yeah, coming to the code for the same. Yeah, so first what I did was connect ColdFusion with the cloud GCP storage, right? So for that I used get cloud service method. I have stored all the credentials in my app.cfc over here, as you can see, and I'm using that to establish the connection. And here I'll be getting the storage service handler. So using this storage service, I can perform operations on GCP storage. So first thing that I'm doing is creating a bucket. So that I can do using this bucket method where I'm passing the bucket name. Bucket name would be resume March 2024. And it takes another attribute over here that is a condition if you want to create a bucket or not. So, for example, if the bucket is already created, but you just want the bucket handler, then you can use the same method and give it as false so that the bucket doesn't get created. Rather, it just gives you that bucket handler. But in this case, I'm creating a bucket newly, so I've passed it through true. So if the bucket is not present, it will create a bucket for me, and it's returning me the bucket object. So now that the bucket is created, I have to upload a file to it. So I'm using upload file method, and this is the struct that it takes. There are many other options that are available to pass in the struct, but here I'm just using the simple one where I'm uploading just the file and I'm giving the name for that, the key, object key, I'm passing the name for it. So this is how I'm uploading the object. So that was the first operation that I did. Then the second operation was I listed all the buckets that were present, all like the months that were present. Those were the three buckets that were present. So for that, I'm doing list all buckets. So for that, there's the method called as list. So it lists all the buckets in the storage service in the account. So here I'm again using a condition. I'm just listing all the buckets which has a prefix of resume. So I'm using with the condition. If I don't want the condition, then I also have a bucket method named as list all for it. Then there is then what I did was listing the objects within that bucket. So for that, first I'm going to get the bucket object, that is the bucket handler. I have that, and using that within the bucket what all objects are present, I can list them using list all method. So here I'm using list all method on the bucket object, and I've got the list of all the resumes from that. Then the next operation that I did was downloading the file. So for that, I have download to file method. Again, that should be called on the bucket object, download to file, and I'm passing. I have to provide the destination file path. That would be in my local system wherever I want to store the file, and the key. Key would be the name of the file that I want to download. So using that, when I call this method, that file gets downloaded from the GCP storage. So this was GCP storage. Next up is GCP Firestore, and the work item that Harry had was adding employee details to the database. So here I'm using Firestore, and yeah, I can just add the employee details. So I just added the employee details, and if you want to see it in the Firestore service in GCP, then okay, here I have the employee DB already created. So in that, I just added this new document, and I've added this details here. So to get all these details, you can go to this employee list, and all the employees that are present in the DB will be listed, and you can again get more details by clicking on this. You can get the details. So to show the code for the same, over here I'm using Firestore. So I use the configuration, the service name as Firestore here, and I'm going to pass that to this get cloud service method, and I'm establishing a connection. So now I have the again the object for the entire Firestore service. So for that, I'll need to get the object for the employee DB. So for that, I can do this collection. I can call this collection method, and it returns the employee DB handler. If the collection was not present, it would create a collection for you. But currently, I already have the DB. I'm just calling it, and I've got the handler. And using that, I can upload the details to this DB. So here I'm calling this document method. So it creates a document. Here I'm passing the employee ID. If we do not pass anything, then it will generate one for you. That's what Firestore does. Generates a document ID if we do not pass it, and then we call create method and pass this data, employee data. That was this data. I've passed it. That's how I've added the data to this collection. And to retrieve the data, what I've done is I've taken the same employee DB handler, and I've just done list documents. It will list all the documents that are present in that collection. So this was GCP Firestore. Next, the third work item that he had was sending updates to the employees, right? So for this, I'm using GCP PubSub. So it's a messaging service. So here, the HR, he can create a topic, and he can publish messages to this topic, and the employees can pull the messages. If he wants to send messages just to the employee managers, then he can create one just for managers. So here I'm creating the topic for the manager. At the same time, I have another app over here. This will be for the employees, so they'll have to subscribe to the topics. So over here, they can go and subscribe to the topic. It will list all the topics that are present. So I just created employee manager topic. So that topic has come here. So you can subscribe to the topic. So by clicking here, they'll have to give a subscription name. So let's give a name for now. and the subscription is created. Okay, at the same time, I can show you over here, he can get all the list of topics and he can push the messages to this topic. So, yeah, here subscription is created and we can come here and push a message to this topic. So, this is our topic. He can push any message. Okay, I've published the message. So, the employee, the managers can check the messages. They can go here and the topic name, um, whichever the topic was, employee manager. From that, the subscription that they had, and get message. So yeah, the message has been received over here. This is how the topic and the subscription works. The PubSub service works. So, and the code for the same would be again, first thing to do would be establishing the connection. I've done that and I've got the PubSub client handler. Using that, first operation that I did was creating a topic. So I can do it using create topic method. I have to pass the topic name and there are extra attributes that you can pass. Over here, I've just passed message retention duration and the label, and that's how I create a topic. Once the topic is created, I got the list of topics. That can be done using list topic methods. Again, it should be called on the PubSub client handler and get the list of topics. And next was publishing the message to the topic. So for that, first you'll need the topic object, and using the topic object, you have to publish it. So first I'll get the topic, I'll get the topic object, and on that topic object, I'm going to publish the message. And here I'm sending the data, whichever I want to, the message that I want to send. That's how I publish it. And the other side, I'd shown subscription part. For that, even to subscribe, you first need the topic object. So for that, I'm getting the topic object, and to that topic object, I'm calling the subscribe method and passing the subscription name to it. And to receive the messages again, I have to get the subscription, and that subscription to that subscription I have to pull the data. So first I'll get the object and then I'll get the subscription that's present, and to that subscription I'm pulling the data from that subscription, and I can give the number of messages that I want to pull. Such kind of options are present. So these all functionalities are actually of the cloud service itself, like Firestore. These are functionality. We have just implemented it so that through ColdFusion you can use those cloud service functionalities. So this was the demo. Next up, we have cloud services monitoring using PMT. So this is the ColdFusion performance monitoring tool that we have. Um, I'll just be showing the cloud service monitoring part. If you want more details on PMT, then there's a session on 7th explaining more in detail on this. To monitor cloud services, first we have to go and enable monitoring. So here under monitoring, we have to go and enable cloud service monitoring. Once we have enabled it, we can, I mean, this starts monitoring your ColdFusion. So basically we establish at the after installing PMT, we'll have to first do a connection, connected to the ColdFusion that we want to monitor. So I've already connected it, and I'm already monitoring it. So whichever operations that I showed you just now, it was already monitored, and the data will be available here. So here we have a cloud services monitoring page, and as you can see, the data was getting monitored. All the requests that we're getting sent from ColdFusion to the cloud services, we're getting monitored here. So every cloud service has a page. I'll just be showing GCP storage, PubSub, and Firestore. So these are few data that's available. There is average response time for the APIs, the graph for API invocation, the number of APIs that were called. Then there are top slow operations, the APIs that were called for that particular cloud service. Like for storage, we called bucket method bucket, then upload file. So those methods and the time that it took to execute, as well as the number of times that particular API was called. So such kind of details will get here. Then there is bucket distribution. So the operations that we did on which bucket. So either creating bucket, like I created resume match bucket. So that will be here. Then what all operations that I've done on the bucket, based on that, this distribution will be there. Then there is object distribution. It's on the object within the bucket. So those data will be shown here. Then there is action distribution. Again, it's for the APIs that were called, which API was called, how many times, all those data will get it here. And then there is success failure distribution. If any operation failed, then we can see that over here. We can still go further down over here and get more details on it by clicking on all these graphs are clickable. We can click on these graphs and get more detail. We can see which file called this particular, like use this particular bucket. So as you can see here, upload resume, list resume, these were the files that use this particular bucket. So I can again click on it and see what time it was called, and yeah, how much time did it take. Then we can go down further and check more details. Like you can get all these kind of details for ColdFusion. Then we also have cloud services over here. So it gives you details on the cloud service method that you had used, and yes, the service type, the average time taken, all such kind of data. And then there are even tags, other tags. If we had used ColdFusion tags, those kind of data also will be available here. So this was for GCP storage. Then we have GCP PubSub. In GCP PubSub, again, we have average response time, average API invocation, then the top slow operations. Here we also have topic distribution and subscription distribution. So topic distribution is basically which all topics you used. So that, and even for the subscription distribution as well. Then we have similar graphs, action distribution and success failure distribution. Then we can see GCP Firestore. So the graphs again, this same graphs for average response time and API invocation. But here we have for operation distribution, that is for the what kind of operation was performed on the collection, either it's read, write, or delete. So based on that, then the success failure distribution, and again the action distribution, it would be like did we do a get request or the post request. So based on that. And then over here we'll also be able to monitor the query filters. So if we had taken, like, use some query to fetch the data, then such kind of distribution will be shown here as well. So this was PMT monitoring of cloud services on ColdFusion. So, yeah. So to summarize the session, we went through what cloud services are and saw the different functionalities. Then we also saw the cloud services that ColdFusion supports, and what were the functionalities that ColdFusion supports. Then we also checked how to connect ColdFusion with cloud services and the prerequisites that were needed. Then we also saw a app solving Harry's problem with his work items using GCP storage, GCP Firestore, and GCP PubSub. And we also saw how to monitor these cloud services using PMT. Here are a few resources. We have HelpX page, Adobe HelpX page, with details on how to use each of these cloud services with ColdFusion. I can share you the links for the same if needed. Yeah. Are there any questions? I can take them.